Hello classic car lovers. This time we will get extreme. First we will have to get dirty in the mud and then get a little wet in the water, without stopping to pass through the arid sandy desert, and end up covered in cold snow. But don't be scared. I assure you that it will be worth the trip, because we will be testing a real all-terrain vehicle that has withstood the inclement weather, so get ready because we start our journey aboard the Iron Jeep, Isuzu Trooper. To analyze and understand the history of this legendary all-terrain vehicle, the first thing we have to know, it is the essence of its powerhouse, which since its inception more than a century ago, it is characterized by mergers and collaborations with other manufacturers worldwide, and that, unlike other brands that have ended up disappearing with this type of commercial agreements, in the case of Isuzu, this has been the spearhead to project itself as one of the most solid manufacturers. Recognized throughout the world, characterized by always providing high-quality products. Isuzu, which means 50 bells in Japanese, was born in 1934 as a merger between two Japanese companies that had already been collaborating with other English manufacturers. In 1971 Isuzu reached an agreement with General Motors to become its subsidiary in Asia and began to produce vehicles for the American market. In 1987 the internationalization of the brand continued with the manufacturer Subaru to create the company, Subaru Isuzu Automotive. In 1988, Korean manufacturer SsangYong Motors began production under license of the Isuzu Trooper. This model was also introduced in the Acura SUV, by a trade-in program with Honda in 1994, that lasted until 2002. In June 1999, production of diesel engines began in Poland for all Opel and General Motors vehicles on the European market. That said, I think it will be easier to understand why this model is known by so many names and brands, although its essence is always maintained as the Trooper of Isuzu. The first generation of the Trooper was released in 1981. It was available as a three-door pickup with a soft top, with independent front suspension. The model stood out for being very spacious, with excellent visibility for passengers and great lighting in the cabin due to the wide design of its windows. The soft-top model sold slowly and didn't last long. In the Japanese market, the vehicle was originally introduced as the Isuzu Rodeo Bighorn. Although in the 2 decades that this Jeep was produced it had a wide variety of engines, both gasoline and diesel, aspirated and turbo. The first engines included a 1.95-liter gasoline engine and a 2.2-liter diesel engine of 73 horsepower. In truth these engines left a lot to be desired in terms of performance, even by early 1980 standards, which they tried to compensate for with their low curb weight of 3,700 pounds. The four-wheel drive system was activated by operating a 3-position shifter adjacent to the shifter. And air conditioning was optional, only available on some models. In short, an extremely basic vehicle. In 1983, Isuzu proves that it learned from its mistakes and makes shocking improvements that would mark the history of the Trooper, introducing the 5-door version and the 4ZD1 4-cylinder 97 horsepower petrol engine, as well as a 2.3-liter.
Wow!
In addition to increased power, changes to the previous engine included a timing belt that replaced the previous chain and a larger carburetor. Also available for 1986 only in the US was the 87 horsepower 2.2-liter C223T turbocharged diesel engine. This was not a popular choice, so Isuzu North America switched to the larger 4-cylinder 4ZE1 petrol unit for 1988, then used the standard GM 2.8-liter V6 for 1989, until its own new V6 engines could be made. In 1987, rectangular headlights were introduced and the Model LS was available with 5 doors. For 1988, the 4ZD1, 2.3-liter, engine was upgraded to 110 horsepower and introduced a 120 horsepower 2.6-liter ITC fuel-injected engine for the US market. In 1989, an optional 2.8-liter General Motors V6 with pushrod was also available, taken from the Chevrolet S10 pickup. As we mentioned, the Trooper was sold all over the world under different brands, names and variants. In Indonesia, where it was assembled locally by PT Garmac Motors, it was sold as Chevrolet Trooper. And he was welcomed with open arms by the public. In Central America, it was offered with removable roofs and increased wheel clearance. Powertrain options included the 2.8-liter Isuzu turbo diesel. In Venezuela, the Trooper was known as Caribe 442. In Australia and New Zealand it was sold as the Holden Jackaroo, becoming very popular with farmers and those who traveled to the countryside. In 1988, sales of the Subaru Bighorn began for Japan, which was only offered with Isuzu's 2.8-liter turbo diesel inline 4-cylinder engine, with a 4-speed automatic or 5-speed manual transmission and part-time 4WD. Over time the Subaru model went on to be sold in Russia, China, Thailand, Vietnam and other Asian countries. The Trooper is also the first vehicle manufactured by Vietnam's Mekong Auto in 1992, with a diesel engine supplied by Sangyo. Manufacturing until 1997 some 30,000 units of the Mekong Stars. It is said that in 1993 a large part of these were exported to China and Japan, due to their demand. In the early 90s, the Trooper model went to its second and last generation which would begin in 1992 and end in 2002. In this version it already changes to being an SUV of greater amplitude and aesthetics, with more amenities and larger engines that gave it admirable performance.
Yes!
There we also find models for Japan such as Honda Horizon. In Europe the Opel Monterey, in the United Kingdom as Vauxhall Monterey. In Australia it remained as Holden Jackaroo and in the United States as Acura SLX. A very popular model in both generations, although marked by many demerit campaigns which they said, its stability was bad on the road which made it a vehicle that is dangerous to drive. So Isuzu being faithful to its philosophy of delivering high quality in its products, it also took great care to give a lot of attention to these details. I had already told you, that to understand the whole that surrounds the history of this emblematic model, we would have to immerse ourselves in its history and search its details. Because, yes, can be a little confusing. Even so, we have no doubt about the impact that this vehicle caused in the world of off-road vehicles. Rustic, basic, and minimalist, but extremely practical, powerful and above all durable. A warrior who has remained for more than 4 decades overcoming all obstacles, crossing all roads and capturing in his path a large number of followers of all generations around the world. Which is remarkable when observing that with more than 40 years it is still one of the most sought-after models for restoration projects, modification and to be used for daily use or in off-road events. Demonstrating with this, how reliable, durable and practical this masterpiece is. Tell me about your memory or experience with the historic Isuzu Trooper. This true all-rounder that has been present since its inception. One more that we add to the list of the new classics. If you liked the video, subscribe, comment and share to continue growing as a community and bringing these machines full of history back to light.